partnership programs. Here is an outline of today's program. We're going to have an introduction to the Science Industry Partnership and its programs, including the Modular Masters. Then we're going to be spending most of the time discussing the latest news and updates on the Modular Masters, why the Modular Masters has been chosen, what are the skill needs of industry, what is the Modular Masters itself, how does it work, what are the fees and the funding options available, and a summary of the benefits of the Modular Masters in Formulation Science and Technology. Then we're going to try and open up to a comment from employers and academics if they're available on the line. We're going to provide a reminder of where information, contacts, links and materials can be made available for you, and then we will use the chat function or audio to have a short question and answer session at the end. Now, this is a reminder that this recording, this webinar is now being recorded and will be made available to participants, as will the slides from the webinar, after the webinar has finished. You're welcome to circulate both slides and the link to the recording to your colleagues, of course, if you wish to do so. Let's have a few words first of all and understand what the Science Industry Partnership is. It's an employer-led proposal which was funded by government co-investment, which was announced in 2014 of up to 32 million in this employer-led proposal, which is of course a big vote of confidence really in the science sector. The government is essentially working in strategic partnership with employers to deliver industrial strategy in the area of skills. The Science Industry Partnership is led by an employer SIP board, which is chaired by, from the company side, by GSK. The objectives of the Science Industry Partnership are essentially to develop skills strategy for the science sector and to co-invest and deliver skills and education projects for employers. And it was publicly launched on the 8th of July last year. To understand the scope of the Science Industry Partnership, this slide introduces the sectors which are covered by the SIP. So within life sciences, you've got industries such as pharmaceuticals, biotechnology, medical technology, and consumer healthcare. On the industrial side, you have chemicals, petrochemicals, industrial biotech, polymers, advanced materials, and formulations. So it's pretty broad ranging in its scope, and there you can see, and we won't need to go through each of these in turn, but there for your information is listed. First of all is a list of the members of the SIP board, so employers from a range of different industries there, and specifically when talking about the higher education and modular masters programs within the SIP, a number of other companies listed there as well. The Science Industry Partnership is already delivering a number of different programs, and these span all levels really within industry, from people who have yet to join the industry all the way up through to advanced programs in higher education. So for instance, just very briefly, there is a program involving ambassadors for STEM subjects going into schools and creating links between employers and schools and discussing what careers are available in STEM sectors. Secondly, there is a series of traineeships, which are short placements for young people. They're typically aged between 16 and 18 to give them a flavour for the industry and the science industry in general. Then there is a significant program in what's called smart apprenticeships, and these are essentially tailor-made apprenticeships with those training plans for the apprentices designed and tailor-made in conjunction with the employer. Then there are a number of workforce development actions within the science industry program. So a series of gold standards for upskilling the workforce at the technician level. And there is an amount of funding available to enable, in particular, small businesses to grow as well. That's a small business framework for growth. So those are a number of the programs outside the higher education area. Within the higher education area, there are a number of activities going on. There is a placement scheme, the industry degree scheme, which is underway already, and there is also a scoping activity on the need for advanced training in industrial biotechnology. For all of the details on all of those programs, if you're interested, you can see the contact details of Kate Hutchins at Cogent there on that slide. But today we're going to be mainly talking about the item that's there in bold text. That's the Formulation Technology Modular Masters program. Now, we've run a couple of webinars on the subject already. There is a considerable amount of additional information now available, but we'll take you through everything that we've got from start to finish today. So the Modular Masters in Formulation Science and Technology. So what is it? It's essentially a comprehensive and a flexible, quality assured, industrially relevant and cross-sector suite of advanced training, which is suitable and available for those people engaged at in different areas of the formulation science and technology. So it's pretty comprehensive, as you'll see, and it's designed for learners who are in industry, who are working industry, but who wish to study part-time. They may study part-time leading towards a formal qualification, or alternatively, they may not wish to pursue a formal qualification, but they may wish to study individual modules as continuing professional development, CPD, or straightforward training courses. So it's flexible. If you want a formal qualification, you can pursue that. If you don't want a formal qualification, but you want the knowledge, then you may pursue a training course in the normal way. It's suitable for a very wide range of participants, including graduates, experienced senior technicians who may not have formal graduate qualifications, or indeed scientists up to PhD level who may be wishing to fill gaps in their knowledge in specific areas. We anticipate those people participating working in some areas relevant to formulation. It could be R&D, it could be manufacturing process development, it could be manufacturing itself, it could be in quality control or quality assurance, it could be within technical marketing or applications development. So it could be of interest to a wide range of people. And also the scope in terms of industry is extremely wide as well. So all of the industries mentioned on the previous slides really then within the Science Industry Partnership could in fact have some interest in the program. In particular in the area of formulations, we anticipate that industries such as pharmaceuticals, personal care and cosmetics, household cleaners and detergents and professional cleaners, agrochemical pesticides, paints, coatings, inks, adhesives, specialty chemicals, construction chemicals, and a whole range of different areas we think are going to find the Modular Masters of use and of interest to them, and indeed they've already been amongst the employers that have been consulted about the program. And it's probably worth pausing here to remind ourselves about what industry said it wanted to have from a Modular Masters formulation qualification. So a considerable amount of market research was done prior to the Science Industry Partnership funding bid being submitted, and that was included in the bid. So just in brief, what did industry say it wanted? Well, it wanted, first of all, flexibility. It wanted a modular framework so that the employer, together with the providers and the individual student, could build up a master's program which was suitable for themselves. So it can be tailor-made to the industry, to the company, or to the individual. The employers said very clearly that they didn't want to be tied to one single provider for the master's program. They actually wanted to be able to pick from the best of the best to build up a program that was really suited to them. So they wanted flexibility in terms of provider as well. They wanted, as we mentioned before, the potential for those not interested in a formal academic qualification to be able to study standalone training as CPD, continuing professional development, but they also wanted this option, stages towards a master's qualification, postgraduate certificate, diploma and master's as well, because many people do see value in a formal academic qualification. They want to see a variety of delivery and assessment methods, so realistic assessment methods, not straightforward examinations, but including examinations, some rigor there, but also assessment through assignments, through presentations, through dissertations, and they wanted to see a variety of delivery modes. Now, the in-person training is suitable for many people, but for many people they don't have the flexibility to spend long times away from the workplace, so therefore delivery by distance or e-learning was seen as very desirable. They wanted the program to focus on advanced skills, so really bringing the science into formulation and tying up the science that have been learnt maybe as a chemistry or a chemical engineering in university to advanced formulation skills that are relevant and practical for the workplace. They wanted to see a research project within the master's program which had relevance to industry, and they wanted to make sure that the program was sustainable in the long term and was guided by industry. So some opportunity for industrial governance of the program was seen as very important. So that's what industry said it wanted. And we're very pleased today to be able to announce, after a process of selection by an industry panel, that a consortium of leading UK universities will be working together with the Science Industry Partnership and Cogent Skills to deliver the programme. These UK universities specialise in formulation and have a track record of working together with industry, both in teaching as well as research, so that we know that they are highly relevant to industry and they are highly engaged with industry. Those four centres are the Leeds Centre, which is the Centre for Formulation Engineering at the University of Birmingham, supported by Pharmaceutical Sciences, also within Birmingham. The University of Leeds Chemical Engineering Group, the Imperial College London Chemical Engineering Group, and the King's College London Pharmacy Group. So together that provides good geographical coverage as well as good coverage of different subject areas. And it's worth probably spending a little bit of time to reflect on what those institutions have been able to do historically with industry. So the University of Birmingham is a pioneering centre for doctoral training in the area of formulation engineering. They've produced over 50 doctorates in formulation engineering with companies such as Unilever, Syngenta, Pfizer, GSK, PepsiCo, Merck and so on. So a very significant industry engagement. They also are running full-time MSc programs in advanced chemical engineering and pharmaceutical sciences. The University of Leeds also has an established centre for doctoral training in particle size and engineering, and is running a series of extremely popular CPD courses in formulation related topics. Imperial College London and King's College London both have full-time MSc content and programs in relevant areas to formulation. And of course, on top of that, without saying, all of those institutions have numerous industrial research collaborations outside the area of teaching. So how will the program work? So for those people interested in acquiring a full master's in Formulation Science and Technology, they must accumulate 120 credits which will be assessed. Now, the way that the and we're going to come on to the specific modules in a moment, but they've been divided into three areas. First of all, the core modules, and those are fundamental areas of science and technology which are generally applicable across all industries, and the student will have to take at least 40 credits from the core modules offered. That's assuming they want to go towards a full master's. Now, specialized modules are also there. These are much more industry specific, or they may be much more specialized in terms of their technical aspects. The student then has to choose a further 80 credits from amongst specialized and core modules. So the taught element of the course then adds up to 120 credits, and a typical module is 10 credits inside, so that'll be 12 modules. To complete the full master's, then there is an industrially relevant practical research project which will generally take place in the workplace, so it'll be an extension of the student's normal day-to-day work typically, but with supervision from both an industry supervisor but also importantly from an academic supervisor, and that project is worth 60 credits. So total 180 credits gets you a master's, assuming you passed the assessments. And this provides an overview, and there's no need to write all of these down very, very quickly. We won't go through every module, but these are available on the slides and of course on the recording for you to view. There are also descriptions available for each of these, so there are concise one-page descriptions that tells you more or less everything you need to know about each of these modules. These are available online, and I'll be showing the links at a later stage. So here we have around about 15 or so core modules delivered by a number of different institutions. Here you see an indication of the number of credits for each of those modules, the different learning modes that are possible, the way that the assessment is done, whether it's examination, whether it's assignment, whether it's coursework, and some indications of the dates when those modules will be run. We'll come on to timings a little bit later in a little bit more detail. Now, here are a similar number of specialized modules. Again, descriptions are available. There you can see the dates of the different learning modes, the different assessments, and so on. Again, descriptions for each of these modules are available, and the links will be shown at the end of the presentation. So overall, you can see between this slide and the previous slide a very wide variety, both in industry relevance and in terms of technical subject matter, enabling really a nice menu to be built up and to be chosen from by the student and the employer. What we've done, and these are essentially as guidance, they're not prescriptive, but we put together, and you'll see this in the brochure, which is another download which is available. We put together a number of pathways. And it's important to remember that these pathways are highly flexible. You can choose from one or more of the universities, and you can choose whether you want to build up the program or whether you want to just take CPD. There's the full master's, 180 credits. Just worth mentioning about the research project. There are safeguards in place for company confidentiality and IP, and there are model contracts available based on the model contracts already used in the engineering doctorate, which will safeguard company confidentiality and IP. In terms of timings, and this is quite important, if a student was running very, very fast, they could probably complete the taught element in an absolute minimum of 2 years plus at least 6 months to complete the project. More realistically, the taught element is going to take 2 to 4 years, and so 3 to 6 modules per year. So typically, I think students should be reckoning on 3 to 4 years as being more realistic. If a student's in a hurry and an employer's in a hurry, that taught element can be done in 2 years. And again, in a hurry, the project could be done in 6 months, but more realistically could be spread out over about a year. So typically 3, 4, 5 years is the time scale over which you should be thinking if you're interested in completing the full program. On the way towards the full Masters, there are options to take a pause, and so a postgraduate certificate can be awarded for 60 taught credits, and a postgraduate diploma can be awarded for 120 taught credits. Now, we'll come on to the pathways now. These are not prescriptive, they're suggestions. And we put these together because not all modules are going to be suitable for everybody. A lot of modules are of wide interest, some are of peripheral interest, so we've indicated here in color codes and with symbols in the brochure, you'll see something very similar to this, suitability. So on the next slides, you'll see some indicative pathways. Where the color is solid, then that means that module is likely to be suitable for that industry. Where the color is light, that module may be suitable depending on the particular interests of the students and the employer. Where the color is blank, where it's white, that means that the module is unlikely to be suitable for an employer or a student in that industry. That doesn't mean they're banned. If they're really interested, they can still take the module, but we're indicating it's unlikely to be suitable for them. Now, there is a possibility, according to industry need, if the demand is high enough, to add additional specialized modules. So we have about 25 or 30 modules already on that list there, the list that you've seen. If you believe that there are specific topics that there would be good demand for, then it's perfectly possible to add additional modules to be delivered by members of the consortium or indeed by third parties with their supervision. If you can see 90% of what you want, but you're missing 10%, then let us know, and we'll see if there's enough demand for that to be justified. So typically, we've said already, taught modules we spread for the student over 2 to 4 years, and the timetable that we've shown already will be repeated on an approximately annual basis. So if you've missed it 1 year, you can always come back and take it again the following year, because it will be repeated. So this slide then, and there's a lot of information on this slide, but it's probably just worth looking at the colors on here. So each of these columns represents a different industry. So pharmaceuticals, home and personal care, ag chem, food and drink, paints, inks, and lubricants are the industries that we've chosen. You could probably add further ones there. Solid indicates highly relevant to that industry. Light colored, possibly relevant, and white, unlikely to be relevant to that industry. So you can see from that it's perfectly possible to build up, according to your industry, a program of 120 taught credits. And again, that's available on the slides for you to see afterwards, or indeed in the new A5 brochure, which is available for download. And so again, in terms of words here are some example pathways. We've put together example pathways for industries such as home and personal care, bioscience and biotechnology, pharmaceuticals, and food. So here's an indication of what a program might look like for a specific student. Again, these are not prescriptive. These are variable and flexible if you want to change those, but these are kind of first guides for the student and for the employer to start thinking about a particular program and time scale. Now, a question we often get asked is what will the commitments of the student be to studying? Now, as a guideline, and a very rough guideline, a module which comprises 10 credits consists of about 25 hours of learner contact time. Now, contact time means lectures, tutorials, or indeed the online equivalent of lectures and tutorials, and non-contact time of 75 hours approximately, and that's self-study, reading, and assignments. So a total time commitment for a 10 credit module is about 100 hours, 25 of which will be contact time. Now, it's entirely for the employer to decide how much of that contact or non-contact time will be within the learner's normal working hours and how much will have to be taken as holiday or be done outside normal working hours. So that's entirely for you as an employer to decide, or if you are an employee and you need to discuss with your line manager, that's their decision. There's no prescription from the side of the universities or from the science industry partnership on how that's divided. Typically companies are giving the contact time to the student, to the employee out of working hours, and then a certain amount of the non-contact time as well, but not all of it. But that's really up to the employer to decide. All of those modules will be offered as in-person, traditional, if you like, in-person training courses. And most of those are relatively short courses, 2, 3, 4, 5 days. Some of them are being delivered 1 or half a day a week over for instance, a term. But many of the modules are also going to be available as distance learning or e-learning modules, and the process of converting those modules to distance and e-learning is now beginning. So those modules will come on stream as distance and e-learning as well. So then the student has the option to take an in-person course or to take it as distance learning and e-learning. And depending on demand, it's also been proposed and it's expected that a summer school will take place, which gives an opportunity to bring together learners and teachers to mutual benefit as well. So a number of options around studying. The fees, flat rate fee for a 10 credit module is £1,000 plus VAT, irrespective of which university is delivering. In terms of packaging modules together, there's still some fine-tuning being done, and the package rates for packages of modules will be announced shortly. It's important for a time-limited period, and details will be available from Cogent if you're interested. But companies based in England, this is an England-only government-funded program in this case, but if you're based in England, then there may be available to you some workforce development funding of up to 50% per learner per module. So if you want to make this attractive to yourself or to your line manager, that's something you may wish to consider and apply for. Now, the fees we mentioned there are true for UK and EU students. If you're based outside the EU, or if you're an employer with a number of interested students outside the EU, then it is perfectly possible for those students to register either in distance learning or in-person learning, but the fees will be by arrangement between the company and the universities. There will be a booking process, so your first point of call for individual modules or for the full program will be via Cogent Skills, which is handling the front end and carrying out the administration on behalf of companies. So how does the actual booking process work? That booking, as we said, is via Cogent Skills. Again, we'll be providing contact details on slides at the end of this presentation. Cogent will assist students to register with one or more of the individual universities for those respective modules, and at a later date, anybody interested in pursuing a formal academic qualification will also need to register with the University of Birmingham for the Masters or the Diploma or the Certificate. Any Masters already completed and assessed at any of those universities at that time of registration may count towards the Masters. And indeed, those of you who have undertaken modules within the Modular Masters pilot can count those modules towards the final qualification. And typically, and again, a question we often get asked is do I qualify? Typically, a good degree in the relevant science or engineering discipline is required. But particularly in the case of those people interested in just doing CPD rather than the formal academic qualification, then we do find that universities have a degree of flexibility which they may wish to exercise and may well take into account experience and knowledge outside the formal academic framework to admit students onto the Masters. So if you haven't got that degree, it's not necessarily a blocker for you. You may well find that universities will be able to recognize prior knowledge and understanding and allow you to register. As we've said before, there is a repeating timetable on an approximately annual basis. and the timetable will be updated regularly. It's important to understand that many of these modules are also concurrently being offered to full-time MSc students at those institutions. So that usually in many cases there isn't a minimum number requirement before a module can be run, because there are a number of full-time students already sitting the full-time equivalents of these modules. So distance and e-learning is being offered for many of the modules, and typically what happens here is that lecture materials are offered as video or downloadable slides, and these are supplemented by a reading list, by assignments, and by online live tutor sessions. So that's how distance and e-learning works. For those of you wishing to attain a qualification, there has to be an assessment process, and that varies, as we've said, from module to module. In many cases that will be coursework, in many cases that will be assignments, in some cases that will be the traditional examination. And the research project is assessed as typical with MSc research projects by a dissertation and examination. Now, I think one big benefit of the program is that there will be a dedicated senior tutor based at the University of Birmingham, who will be responsible not only for the admin, coordination, communication between the universities, but also critically for guidance to the learner and to the employer on the choice of modules. So the tutor will sit down with the learner and the employer to make sure that a sensible choice of modules is being made and a timetable is suitable. It's worth mentioning the industry governance here. We think this is a really important feature of the program as well. This industry governance consists of employers and academics, and one of their roles will be to consider requests from employers for new content, for delivery, for instance, at new locations if there's demand, and to keep reviewing on an ongoing basis the suitability of program to the industry. So it's not a question of setting up a course and then running it forever and ever and not changing it. The industry governance will ensure that the program continues to deliver what industry wants to see. So here, and again, you'll get these slides, so you don't need to write down these very long URLs. There is now a very comprehensive course brochure which contains all of the information which you've seen on these slides, available from the Science Industry Partnership website. The URL is there, and that's the A5 brochure. And again, you can also see a product sheet for each module, the core modules and the specialized modules, a one-pager which describes in more detail, and that's available from the Cogent Skills website with the URLs there. The brochure, we've actually got some very nice comments. We've got students who've been engaged in the pilot modules already, so we've got a quote here from one student who saw great value in attending the colleague chemistry and rheology module last year, which will count obviously towards the full master's program. And indeed, we also have some feedback from employers, a number of pieces of feedback from employers. We have an industry board who is monitoring the progress of the Modular Masters from a number of leading companies. And here's a quote from Richard Green of Pfizer, who is strongly in support of the program. At this point, I see if Peter Blenkiron is on the call. I've unmuted you, Peter. And if the technology is working, you may want to say a word or two about why you're so keen on the program. Peter is the chair of the industry advisory group for the Modular Masters. Peter, I can hear you, so I think you're live.
Hi there, Jim. Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you well, yes.
Excellent, great. The technology works, fabulous. So yeah, I mean, here at GSK, we're very excited about this as an offering. There's a number of reasons, really. I mean, most importantly, the training is top-notch training offering provided by preeminent established universities in this area. So the training itself is fundamentally high quality, and I think you can see from the breadth of it that it really fills out the formulation space very well in terms of the breadth of the different modules that are on offer. I think the other thing about this, though, is the flexibility that this offers. So being able to do it as a CPD in terms of maybe filling your skills gap, or having the option of then rolling it up in terms of number of modules to complete a formal certification. I think it gives flexibility to the employees to really choose which of those modes is going to fit well for their workforce and the individuals. I think the third thing as well actually is to have the option to do in-person training or by distance learning. And this is a key thing that we've built into this to enable the flexibility, not for all modules, but certainly for the majority of modules by the end of next year as our target. Which I think will give that extra degree of accessibility, given that these modules are going to run at different institutions in the country. So I hope that in terms of the technical breadth of the offering, that the standard of the training on offer and the flexibility in terms of the delivery mode and the options available to the individuals, that this will be a really valuable component of delivering skills for industries that work in the formulation area.
Thanks very much, Peter. Thank you. So now we'll just move on to summarising really the benefits of the programs. So we've had a lot of detail about how it will work, but essentially the benefits really include a choice of how deep you want to go, one module or the full qualification. You've got leading universities in a consortium. You've got flexibility of study via in-person, distance or e-learning modes. You've got a tailor-made program to build up the program that you want and that you need as an employer or as an employee. You've got a senior tutor sitting down with you to help you design a pathway for your need. You've got a research project which is carried out in the workplace, where you'll be able to apply knowledge you've learned in the taught part of the course to real life challenges of industrial importance. You've got simplified one-stop administration. You've got 4 universities, but you will be guided through that process by Cogent Skills administration function. It's going to be suitable for a range of your people, graduates, senior technicians, PhD scientists. A whole range of different people will benefit from this. No matter what industry you're engaged in, or indeed if you're engaged as a supplier of chemical ingredients, for instance, you may be supplying those ingredients into a number of different industries, and your people need to know about formulation in all of those industries. Then it's suitable for people in all industries engaged in formulation. Certainly the evidence is that those companies that provide relevant skills program do help to not only develop the capability of their employees, but help to motivate and retain them, and we expect that to be the case here as well. Formulations are all about practicality and solving real-world problems. So this program not only focuses on the practical, hands-on nature of formulation, but also provides a huge amount of the scientific and technological background to help you interpret what you're seeing in a formulation situation, and critically enables you to learn across different industries. So we've had comments from people, for instance, in the pharmaceutical industry saying, we want to send people on this program not just because of the pharmaceutical modules, but also because of the potential to learn from people and from content in other industries as well. So there's an opportunity for cross-learning across industries there as well. And just before we get on to the Q&A section, you may wish to note these down, but you will get these again in the slides. The general information line and email address for HE operations at Cogent Skills is there, or indeed if you've already decided you want to register or to express an interest, or if you require further information, then that's HE operations at Cogent Skills. And the URL for the program is also on the Cogent Skills website there as well. And again, you're welcome to contact me personally if you wish to have some background information on the program as well. That's no problem. So what I'm going to try and do now is to open up the chat function. Those of you who have the GoToWebinar panel on your screen will see on the bottom right hand side the word chat. If you click on the plus sign, a little plus sign against that chat word, you will see that a box opens up and enables you to type in a text question, which we will attempt to answer. At the moment, I don't see any text questions coming in. So what I'm going to do also is open up the audio, or attempt to open up the audio now to all attendees. At this stage. So this will take a second to do. No, unmuting audio. If people wish to ask a question, then in a few seconds, then audio will be unmuted. So I'll let you know when I've completed that in just 1 second. Right, I'm just unmuting. I'm just finishing on the process of unmuting. So you're all now unmuted. If you'd like to ask any questions over the audio, please do so. So you're all live and on audio. If you want to ask a question, we're going to give you one last chance. Hang on, I just want one or two more people to unmute. So are there any last opportunities for questions? There's quite a lot of background noise, so you may wish to take the option to use the text function, the chat function. Okay, so I don't hear any questions coming through. If you do have any questions, or if the technology isn't working for you today, then feel free to contact us with those contact details that we've shown already. I thought I heard a question there, but I'm not sure. No, so I'm now, we've got some background noise there. So I've muted everybody because we've got a lot of background feedback there. Last chance for the text, otherwise we're going to wrap up the session now. So you want to use the chat function, you can. So I hear no questions. Any more questions, then please by email to those addresses that I've shown. I'll put them up one last time. If you have any further questions, then don't hesitate to contact those numbers. So thanks very much for your attendance today. I hope the technology worked for you. We will contact you in due course with information about the recording and a copy of the slides. Thank you, and have a good rest of the day.